guys, welcome back to my channel, and as the title so aptly suggests, today I'm showing for you guys my eyeshadow palette collection. Now I did this video roughly a year ago. I think it's like a year to about like a week or two kind of thing, and I thought I would do it again because in the last year I've definitely acquired more eyeshadow palettes. I've also got rid of some and my collection's changed. So apart from me just wanting to share my collection with you guys, I also kind of wanted to have it as a bit of a document to look back on in the future. So there's quite a lot here, I'm not kidding. I have 2 baskets that look like this, so let's dive in. So I'm going to go brand by brand, and I'm going to start with the few brands that I only have a couple of pieces from. The first being Natio. This is their Petals Mineral Eyeshadow Palette. Next up we have a Tanya Burr Cosmetics. This is the Hollywood Eye Palette. Actually, Tanya Burr Cosmetics doesn't really exist much anymore. It's kind of been on hiatus for the past like 18 months. So you can't actually get this anymore. My newest palette that you would have seen in my birthday haul is the Morphe X James Charles palette. This is a palette my friends got me. I haven't really played around with this too much. Next up we have one of the first ever palettes that I bought. I think this was actually the first like proper big palette that I was so excited to buy. This palette from Coastal Scents. This is the 120 palette number 1. So it's 120 eyeshadows. Honestly, I should have just stopped with these and not bought anything else because I would be set. Next up is Folklore, and this is a brand that I haven't really tried much from. Like, I have 2 palettes, but I've not really used them much at all. The palettes all look amazing, so I just had to try them out. The first one is the Burning palette, which I also have the So Hot palette. Next up is Maybelline, and I actually had more Maybelline palettes in last year's video than I do now. I got rid of 2 of them because they're just not the best quality and I wasn't using them. So the first palette I have is the Original Nudes palette. This is again one of the first palettes that I got. I used to use this all of the time. The new Maybelline palette I have is the Lemonade Craze palette. I was super excited when this finally came out here in Australia. Next up is BH Cosmetics, and the first is another rainbow palette. I didn't need this when I bought it, but it is such a gorgeous palette. It is the Take Me Back to Brazil palette, and it just looks so beautiful. The other BH Cosmetics palette I have is the Marvicorn palette by Marvin Magnificent. This is actually a eyeshadow and highlighter palette, and it looks a little bit like that. Next up is BYS, and I honestly thought I had more palettes than I do. I'm kind of annoyed that I don't have as many as I thought. Firstly, I have a little 5-pan palette, and this is the Neons palette. I also have the matte palette. The palette that I have been loving recently though from BYS is the Safari palette. I talked about this one in my birthday haul as well. Another Australian brand that is really good is Designer Brands. So first up I have this little quad. I used to use this so much. This is the Added Warmth quad. I don't know if they still have these quads. I think they have something similar to these. This is a very generic quad. The whole point being like that was your lid, your crease, your outer corner, and then like your topper kind of thing. I then have both mixed tape palettes. These are from last year's holiday collection, and I didn't need both, but I just loved the look of them. So this is the Feel the Heat palette. And then there is the Ice Ice Baby palette. I mainly got this one just because of the Vanilla Ice reference. I then have 2 of their tin palettes. These are no longer available. Designer Brands used to do this thing where they only brought out holiday collections. The stuff that they have now is a little bit more permanent. So this is the Paparazzi palette. I used to use this one all the time. And then there is the Day to Night palette. This was in collaboration with Sophie, I can't read her name, Gachia or something like that. She did like a couple of different items, this eyeshadow palette being one of them. Then the other designer brands palette I have is the Jump for Jupiter 9-pan palette. They had 3 of these back in the day. This was again part of last year's holiday collection. There was Jump for Jupiter, something about Saturn, and then something for Neptune. This was like the one that was like the most me and the one I'd probably get the most use out of. I think I was eventually planning on getting the other ones, but this one kind of was a bit of a letdown for me because a number of these mattes are really pressed quite hard, so you can't really get any color picked up off them, which really bummed me out because it's a really nice travel, everyday, take it with you, like good go-to palette, and it just was such a letdown, so I don't even reach for it anymore. Okay, on to my final 2 brands, and if you guys have followed me for a while now, you will probably guess what these 2 are. Both of these are like my go-to brands. They are really, really beautiful, really affordable, and I just want to collect everything that they ever release. The first one is Makeup Revolution. So I'll start off with some smaller palettes that I have from Makeup Revolution. These are 2 of the donut palettes from I Heart Revolution. So this is chocolate dipped and this is maple glaze. They're both squishy tops and they actually have scents to them, although the scents are kind of wearing off. This one still has its scent, this one not so much. I also have my 3 signs from the My Sign collection. So these are little palettes like this that contain 3 shadows, 1 highlight, 1 brow wax, and then 1 double pan of brow powder. So this is the Leo. Then we have the Gemini palette. And then the Virgo palette, which kind of looks a little bit ugly. Continuing on with the I Heart Revolution portion of my Revolution collection, we have this mini rose gold chocolate palette. I then have 6 of the full-sized chocolate palettes, and I've actually done a video with one of these before, and I also did a blog post where I swatched 3 or 4 of these as well. I'll link to them below. So first up is the Nudes palette, because obviously I'd get something with the name Nudes in it. Then we have the Violet palette. Then we have the Galactic palette. This one, I just mainly got it for the aesthetics of this palette because it has marbled galaxy looking pans. Then we have the I Heart Chocolate palette. Then we have the Macaroons palette. This is the one that I've used in a video, which I will link to below. This is such a beautiful beachy palette. And then we have the 24 karat gold palette. Other 3 Revolution palettes I have are the actual Revolution palette. So firstly, we have the Ultra Eyeshadows Beyond Flawless palette. This was actually a free gift I got a while ago for, I think it was when Revolution was celebrating their birthday. Then I have the Iconic Pro 1 and the Iconic Pro 2 palettes. You honestly don't need both of these palettes. They are very, very similar, but they are both really, really nice. The last brand is of course Colourpop. I love Colourpop. It is a fantastic brand. Half of my makeup collection is Colourpop, and then probably a third of the other half is Revolution, and then the rest is just random mismatch of brands. I love Colourpop. It is such I could gush about Colourpop all day. So the main things that I've been collecting from Colourpop are these 12 pan palettes. However, I'm a little bit behind because Colourpop release something like literally every week, but I honestly want to collect every single thing that Colourpop releases. I don't need every single palette that Colourpop releases, but they are all so beautiful. So we'll just firstly go through these. So we have the Zodiac palette, which was in collaboration with Kathleen Lights. Then we have the Salvage. I don't think that's how you say it. I did remember hearing how you say it, but I've forgotten it. This is in collaboration with Becky G. Then we have the Good Sport palette. This was last year's fall palette. Then we have the My Little Pony palette. This one actually no longer exists. This was part of the My Little Pony collection, and when this was on sale on clearance, I thought I would get it just because it looked really, really nice. I'm not like the biggest My Little Pony fan. It's not like it was my childhood or anything, but I just really liked how fun this palette was. My first Colourpop eyeshadow palette was the Yes Please palette. This was like my everything. Next up is the other Kathleen Lights Colourpop collaboration, and that is the Dream Street palette. Then finally the last 12 pan palette is the Double Entendre palette. The other 12 pan palette I have from Colourpop is in a slightly different shape, and that is the Brunch Date palette, which was in collaboration with Zoella, aka Zoe Sugg. The final two Colourpop palettes and the final two palettes in my collection are the Disney collaborations. There's actually been a new Disney one released since I got these two as well. So there is the original Disney designer palette with all of these princesses. I love the artwork for this. It is seriously beautiful. I also love that you have the princesses' signatures up here. Then there's the second Disney collab, which was the Villains palette. So this is Misunderstood. I love the artwork for this one as well. This one is a little bit more. So that is my entire eyeshadow palette collection. I do obviously have a couple of other eyeshadow products, which I talked about in last year's video. I'll link to that below if you've not seen it, which are Loose Pigment from Colourpop and the Colourpop Super Shock Shadows. I also talked about them in my Colourpop video, which I'll also link below as well. Yeah, I'm really happy with my collection, and it's going to keep growing. I know it will. I don't need any more, and my collection is obviously all the same color, but I'm going to keep buying more because I just love collecting eyeshadow. I think it's just a nice thing to do. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys soon with another video. Bye!